tell the guys, we're thin but mighty. Anybody that's ever asked about our program over the last few years, I've been saying the same thing. And
Person's always been a tough football team. One thing about us is we're going to play tough. We love to hit. Hitting is like preached, and it's like the gospel in person.
I don't want to have all these rules and all these things that you got to try and memorize. Just the word all in. All in.
Football is one of the greatest sports in the world.
It was certainly emotional, no doubt about it. It always is between us and Ocean City.
I don't like losing. The kids don't like losing. And I don't want to lose to the same team over and over and over again. We want to win a state championship.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Cal One-on-One, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service right here on Cape Atlantic Live. We'll continue our 2025 high school football season previews. With me today is new Lower Cape May head coach Billy Damiana. Coach, good to talk to you from a football capacity this time. So we're only 2.5 months away from the season. Crazy how time flies. I feel like we were just talking about wrestling, just yesterday, but already kicking into high gear with football. So I'll start out first, just a new role for you. You were assistant coach for nearly a decade with the program under Lance Bailey, now the head coach going into 2025. What have these last 6 months been like for you?
Well, the last 6 months, we've had wrestling, which is, the dominant entity in my life at that point once football season's over, and trying to navigate through that. And we don't have to talk about specifics about the ending, but it wasn't exactly what we had planned for and what we hoped for, but nonetheless we got through it. Then just the recruiting trail for getting kids at the next level into college, which has been really the main focus over the last couple months, getting a staff together over the last couple months too, for moving forward into the football season, getting a playbook all ready to go for the kids, getting kids into the weight room, trying to change the culture. So that's been essentially since December really what we've been doing, and more specifically myself.
Mm-hmm. When you look at, I guess, the trajectory of your coaching career, is people, if they forget, you were a standout football player too as well. And you have a lot of football in your DNA in addition to wrestling. What do you I guess want to change about Lower Cape May? Because you guys have seen peaks and valleys over the last decade since you were on staff. 8-2 just the other year, down season in 2024, but as we were just talking before we came on, a lot of kids are coming back. What specifically do you want to change about the culture, and maybe, tweak some things here and there ahead of the fall?
Really just consistency, okay? It's no secret. And one of the things that people have to understand, and this goes for Middle Township as well, Wildwood High School, and Ocean City for that matter, our kids have to work. Since Memorial Day weekend, our kids have been leaving weight room at 4:00 because they have to clock in, like their bosses are letting them clock in late. And this is during the week. And then they still have school the next day.
Yeah.
The harsh reality is our kids are working, and not saying that nobody else does anywhere else. That's not what I'm saying. But our kids, for the most part, they have to. Okay. And so they're in the community. They're the community seeing their faces at these local establishments. So with that being said, sometimes over the years, and I'm not just talking in recent memory, I'm talking for decades, the excuse or the crutch is, I have work, or I can't play football. I have too much work in the summertime. And it's like, that has to change. All right. It took us some time, but we changed it for wrestling. We've had the largest number of kids that we've ever had this past season, which we started with 51 and we ended with 47. So, for wrestling, that's a lot of kids. So we're trying to change that. Now, I shouldn't say try. We are going to change that. It's just the mindset, the consistency, the culture around consistency has got to change. And we just ended weight room the other day, and for the first time in a really long time, we had 39 kids in the weight room. So, it's not going to be overnight. There's going to be peaks and valleys. There's going to be a lot of speed bumps along the way. Trust me, I've already done it. I've been a part of it myself. Yeah. But nonetheless, the consistency has got to change. And these kids are remarkable young adults, and they are longing for it, and they want it. They want that consistency. So that is what we're really, really harping on right now. It's just consistency. Get there. We grade the attendance. It can't go down. Like, the grade has got to go up. We average the entire team's attendance throughout the week, and then it's an overall grade, just like they would get for a semester. And each week that has to go up. It can't stay the same, and it can't go down.
Yeah.
So, and that comes with consistency. So that's what we are really, really trying to focus on right now.
What did you notice in the weight room this offseason? A lot of coaches maybe approach it differently in terms of, how soon they hit it after the last season ends. And sometimes guys' programs are different in terms of the weight training, the strength and conditioning, or even just speed training. What have you noticed maybe even in jumps in these kids' lifts? You mentioned the consistency was a big factor. Nearly 40 kids were in the weight room over the course of, I guess, the spring going into the summer. What have you noticed over the last couple of months with the weight room program as you get prepared to get back onto the field?
Well, our numbers are astronomically larger than they were last year, which is a very, very good sign, number one. Number two, we're a smaller school, and a lot of other schools experience this as well, as your kids are playing 2 to 3 sports. So trying to get them not to be selfish and get a workout for football, just to get a workout because they're an athlete, and you want all of your sports to be successful. You want them to be, successful in everything that they're doing. So trying to get them in there on a day where they don't have a game, or if they have off from practice, or making sure that they are getting those lifts in 3 to 4 days a week around their schedule has been beneficial. And I firmly believe that that's going to be a difference. It's already been a difference for us on the mat, so we're trying to make sure it's going to be a difference on the field.
I was actually curious about that, because generally when people think of football and wrestling, and there are coaches who cross over, obviously a lot of kids who cross over as well. Generally, everyone says, if you're a good football player, you might be able to turn into a good wrestler. Lower K-May is basically doing the opposite right now, where it's like you built up a wrestling program that now has sustained success over the last couple of years, including a sectional title just back in 2024. When you look at, I guess, now bringing it to the football field, and you have a lot of kids on the football team who actually do wrestle as well, do you find yourself now saying, all right, let's take the wrestling culture, not everything from it, but a lot of elements from it, to get it onto the field where now both these programs can be at the same level?
Yeah, we want to keep everything almost hand in hand. You know what I mean? And a lot of kids have only experienced me as an assistant. They haven't experienced as a head coach. And, we're going to be doing some things different that is really outside of their comfort zone. A lot of our guys that either play a different sport, or maybe they only play football. Okay. So they're going to be experiencing a lot of different of challenges from a physical standpoint, spiritual standpoint, and even academic standards are going to be a little bit different. Really trying to push themselves and to be all in. I think one of the things that is unique about teenagers, and I'm not about comparing generations of kids. I think kids are all the same. Kids just react to their environments. So kids are kids. They're not going to know any different. But one of the things that we all, and us as teenagers, we were the same exact way, is teenagers seem to be selfish a lot. So, and it happens in college as well. All right. I know myself, I was selfish a couple times in college as well. And looking back, it's like, you're full of testosterone and you're thinking about you. So the biggest thing is trying to get these kids to buy into everyone's got a role, and you're part of a team. The team's always going to be bigger than the individual. So really harping on that notion of team, and that's going to be the big difference. As well as, we have a relatively seasoned group that's coming back. We have a lot of upperclassmen, and, that wasn't the case last year. We didn't have a lot of, upperclassmen. I think we had 6 seniors last year. A lot of which, didn't have a lot of on-field experience. So they were really getting that, experience in their senior year, which, can be hard if you don't have a lot of reps. So we have a lot of kids coming back that have a lot of reps under their belt. And, the senior leadership is going to be not just seniors, but upperclassmen leadership is going to be key. And with that leadership comes being selfless and not selfish. So those are things that, we're trying to, integrate from one program to the next.
Have you noticed, I guess, these kids going from not saying all of them are selfish or even a lot of them are selfish, but have you noticed maybe more selflessness from the kids, maybe even this spring, where it's like, all right, I think we're on the right track now going into the summer, and this is going to work out pretty well with the way we're going to structure camp going into this new season?
Yeah, I mean, just the rallying around each other, trying to get kids to, make sure that everyone's staying on top of their grades, making sure that, they're going to get to the weight room after school help is over. If somebody has to leave for work, that they make sure that they're going to be in there with them, to make up the lift or conditioning or whatever, making sure that everyone's staying on the same page, making sure that people are getting into huddle to look at certain things. The kids are just, they're really like gelling and coming together. It's really fun to see, really remarkable to see. And I don't think that we're going to have too many issues, if any, about the kids being selfish or anything like that. I think a lot of selflessness is already taking place, which is going to be key for our success as a team.
Love hearing that. So we'll dive into 2025 in just a second. We'll take a quick break. Cal 101 right here on Cape Atlantic Live.
This broadcast is brought to you by Harbor Jiu-Jitsu. Located in Egg Harbor Township, Harbor Jiu-Jitsu is more than just training. Both adults and kids can gain practical skills that give you real confidence, build physical and mental resilience, and you can join a team that's here to help you grow. Featuring no gi, wrestling, and MMA classes. Harbor Jiu-Jitsu is the most dynamic gym in South Jersey. For more information, check out harborjiujitsu.com.
Looking ahead to 2025, Coach, it's interesting because you mentioned the senior class was light last year. It's a little bit heavier this year. A lot of experience coming back this fall. I wanted to start up front and obviously in the trenches. A lot of senior offensive linemen are back, so maybe some consistency along the offensive and defensive lines. What can you speak about the big boys up front going into the fall?
Well, Will Garrow's going to be leading the charge. He's a 3-year starter for us. He's going to be a 4-year starter, and he's played on that 8. He was able to play on that 8-2 team, the 500 team. Last year, obviously, we talked about it was a bit of a down year for the program, but nonetheless, he's got a lot of reps under his belt. And he's looking to play at the next level. So there's been interest in him at the next level through multiple, universities. So he's actually taken upon himself to really step into a leadership role and push guys to, get themselves not just in the weight room, but, to get some extra workouts with him. So I think he's going to be a key factor for us this year up front on both sides of the ball. And then you have Caden Britton, who was stepping into his first time last year as a starter on both sides of the ball, more so on the offensive side. So him, putting himself into a role of having to play more snaps with more experience is going to be great. Jake Huron, Will Torres, these are two guys that were, I don't want to say first-year starters, but they really got a lot of snaps last year. Okay. And they're both, Jake's going to be a senior and Will's going to be a junior. So, essentially almost the entire offensive line's back, as well as rising junior Cole Cooper. These guys played a full season with each other. And knock on wood, one of the things that really was remarkable last year is we didn't have any injuries up front on either side of the ball. And so they got every snap of every game on both sides of the ball, which is going to be huge for us. So that experience of those guys is going to be, playing key, especially as we're going to be trying to change some things up offensively, as well as on the defensive side. And then we have some freshmen that are coming in that are going to be challenging for playing time and starting spots. Okay. And, we have, 2 specific guys off the top of my head that I can think of that are going to be challenging these, for playing time on both sides. So I feel like our line play is going to be very deep this year. And I think they're going to be able to push each other, challenge each other, get after it. And, with the exception of one offensive lineman, the rest of them wrestled each other all season long, and they were getting after it.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I'm praying that that's going to be able to pay off.
I think it definitely will pay off, considering they're going to be excited to hit other guys rather than just
Yeah.
grapple each other, So some of the skill guys that are back, David Douglas, quarterback, Ryan Mallon plays a little running back, and versatile athlete. We mentioned John Fernandez before the show, and obviously Ashton Ray, who's only going to be a sophomore this year. You mentioned he's going to be a running back this season. So it seems like the collection of skill guys, and I don't want to forget him too. Your leading tackler, Max Bracken's also back this year as well. So when you look at these skill guys, I think because of the experience factor, do you feel like this? I guess the offensive and defensive units can have a little bit more cohesion this year, because maybe I'm wrong about this, but last year maybe kind of everybody was thrown to the wolves, so to speak, and now this year it's like, all right, we got that one out of the way. Now let's start piling up some more positive plays, so on and so forth.
Yeah, and and listen, we've all been there, especially in a situation where we're brand new or we haven't had a lot of reps at something, and then we start questioning ourselves. We have lack of confidence. But as time progresses, you take more chances, you get more comfortable, and that's just in life, not just football. So if you look at our defensive film from our scrimmages up at Shalleck all the way to one of our last games, which is against Cumberland, and just Max Bracken as an example, like his play on the field was astronomically different in a positive manner. You have Alex Nelson, who has now got a lot of repetitions after just playing. He didn't play as a freshman. He came out as a sophomore and got some time, and then last year was his junior season, and he was relied upon a little bit more. And then this year he's going to be a seasoned veteran. He's a very, very good lacrosse player for our program down here. So he's looking to get in the mix. We have Max. We have David, like you said, David Douglas, who his confidence defensively is going to carry over offensively, especially after the wrestling season that he had too, which is definitely going to spark him some more confidence. Ryan Mallon is fully healthy, knock on wood, but he's an explosive athlete, does a great job for us basketball wise, same as Jonathan Fernandez. Both of those guys are just a lot of reps last year, and I know it sounds redundant saying it over and over again, but lots of reps, and you're not going to get any better without it. Right. And they had a great spring so far together. Their numbers are getting big. They're putting size on. They're more focused than they have been in the years past. And then you have not Max. Well, I'm drawing a blank here. You just mentioned him, Nick, and I can't remember his name.
Ashton Ray was one.
Ashton Ray, Jesus, his mom's gonna kill me. But Ashton, he's a 3-sport athlete at our school. Yeah. He plays football, he wrestles, and he was integral part of our baseball team as a freshman, and he's continuing to grow. And so him, he's one of those athletes that is going to be playing both sides of the ball. Someone that's another explosive athlete. He's big, and then we have some sophomores that are going to be getting playing time, such as Cooper Milligan, who's also a 3-sport athlete, plays football, basketball, and baseball, and got varsity time in all 3 sports last year. He's a rising sophomore who's put on size. He's put on some speed. So, we have a good group of veterans and a good group of rising sophomores and juniors who have really physically matured. I believe they've mentally matured, spiritually matured, and they're all going to be pushing themselves to get on the field and make plays.
On a related note to the experience factor, when you look at this schedule for you guys this year, I'm pretty sure you guys are running pretty much the same schedule as last year, just maybe just flipped with the home and away games. We
don't play Bridgeton week 0. We play Pinelands week 0, but everything else is going to be the same.
Okay, so on that note, because you guys did make that jump in divisions within the West Jersey Football League from 23 to 24, and obviously, when you move up divisions, the skill gaps could widen. You play tougher teams because a lot of teams, everyone's on a different clock. It's like, hey, they're on their 3-year window where they're going to be great, or they just had a great 3-year window. Now they're going to run into the teams. So how do you adjust this year with, now you're going to see mostly the same teams, but I guess going back to that experience factor, it's like, all right, we're a little bit more prepared for teams like this, especially, obviously I believe you still have Middle Township as well in your division.
Yes. So we have, Middle Township, Oak Crest, We have, we're playing Gloucester City. We're still playing St. Joseph, Hamilton.
Yeah.
Absegami
too off the top of my head. Yep.
Yep. Absegami, Cumberland. These are teams. Egg Harbor Township's a crossover game, but that's still good for us. Cedar Creek's another game that we're going to play where it's top level competition. And my biggest thing to the kids is, nameless opponents, nameless faces. Okay. We're trying to just play the best that we can play. But with that being said, all those programs are established. You know what I mean? Like, Gloucester City is consistently just tough kids. Okay. Middle Township, not, just over the border, they are, established. They have them last year. They had a great, tandem running back team. They had some great athletes, and they're always tough. They're always ready to play. Oakcrest, it was like we were moving in slow motion against them. They were lightning fast, and same as Cedar Creek. And one of the things that I felt that we were missing last year, unlike the year before and the year before that, was we didn't settle in until like 3 possessions into the game where our kids were adjusting to the speed. And if you go back and watch the film outside of the last 2 games of the season, once we settled down, we played really good football, and anybody can say what they want about it. But nonetheless, defensively, we played very tough a lot of times last year. We lost to Bridgeton 12-3. We gave up a touchdown in the first quarter. Then we gave up a touchdown with 3 minutes left in the game. And made them drive. We forced mistakes, and our defensive turnover ratio last year was phenomenal, for not just for us, but I think overall very, very well. We played really, really tough football in a lot of spots. But moving forward this year, I think the kids know what to expect. Like you said, when you're jumping levels, I know when we were watching Oakcrest warm up, for example, we're like, oh boy, this is going to be, this could be a track meet very, very quickly. You know what I mean? And same as Cedar Creek, they get off the bus, they're doing the warm ups without pads on. You're like, damn, welcome to the show, boys. Like, you got to be ready to go. But nonetheless, like, I feel like that's where we come back to our maturity level, where the kids are like, okay, well, now we know what we have to do. So.
I like that answer. I'll leave you here with this one. And I guess you've already hammered home on this, but I do ask every coach, a motto or a phrase or something that the kids can buy in for the entire season. Some coaches keep the same one every year. Some change it year to year. You mentioned consistency a lot. Is that similar to what you guys are buying in? Like, basically the catchphrase of the season. What is it for 2025?
Eye of the Tiger. You already know.
Yeah. I love it. Hey, we're gonna keep it. It worked for wrestling, and I think it's gonna work for football as well. So, Coach, I appreciate your time today. Good luck this year. I'm gonna start looking a little bit more lower Cape May football now that you got me all jazzed up, and I haven't put the pads on in over 10 years. And maybe I'll little special teams reps maybe await me in my future if I put those back on. But good luck this year. Looking forward to watching you guys. New era of lower Cape May football right around the corner.
Thank you, Coach. And one more thing, Nick. Maybe we can get Ulmer on this. Listen, we got the countdown for football. We got the countdown for basketball. We got the countdown for baseball. Where's the wrestling? When are we going to start doing these for wrestling?
I think I'm going to do that on my own accord now, considering the success we've had broadcasting Lower Cape May and Middle Township, some of the best dual meets in South Jersey for sure.
Yeah, well, listen, if Ulmer needs, a couple, I'll pay him.
I'll be sure to pass on the message. I'm sure he's going to watch us immediately too. So I appreciate you, Billy. Billy Damiana with me here on Cal 101, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. Be sure to check out the rest of our podcast, Cal 101, on the YouTube channel, Cape Atlantic Live, and be sure to keep it on the lookout for our live football coverage this coming fall. We'll see you next time.